So here we are, day number 1. I immediately started the day by cutting down some trees and myself a crafting table. Luckily there was a small opening in the ground that wasn't leading to a cave. I mined some stone and made myself a furnace and a set of stone tools before mining the coal. Afterwards I killed some sheep for their body parts, but most importantly their wool before hunting down and killing some cows. One of the benefits of hardcore Minecraft is that it's easy to find a lot of animals. Anyways, I killed some pigs, I killed the meat that I acquired and made myself a bed. Whilst I was waiting for the meat to be cooked, I killed more pigs and cows. It never hurt to have a massive food stock after it was cooked. I began searching for another space in order to build my house. Eventually I found one that was right next to a forest. So again, wood was that major problem. Now I don't have enough time to build a house, I decided to make camp and cleared out some of the terrain. As the sun set, with us, day 0 has ended. Day 1 I immediately began cutting down some trees. I made myself an outline of the house. But it was harder than I thought it would be as I messed up during building. But corrected it anyways. After cutting down a few more trees and satisfied that I got enough to build my house, I went to bed. Day 2 I added a frame to add detail to the house. And after cutting down some trees I planted some saplings. I filled in the roof. Afterwards I dug out the glass floor and mined some coal before getting to bed again. I decided to fill the floor with an oak and birch pattern, making it look nice, and then began to look for some sand for the wood windows. Afterwards I decided to climb the hill to see if there are any structures nearby. And when you know it, there was a village on top of the hill. And then when I was coming back to the house, I saw another nearby. Man, am I lucky. The next day, as I was waiting for the sand to be smelted into glass, I made myself a smoker in order to cook foods more quickly. Afterwards, I simply watched the sand get smelted as I had nothing better to do after making the windows and making chests for storage. The next day, I began to dig down for an underground room, as I wanted to make a mine in order to get the good stuff. But during it, I decided to find some iron as I needed to get myself a bucket. Pro tip for you all. Always have a water bucket with you at all times. After grabbing a few pieces of iron, more than enough to make a bucket, sword, and a pickaxe, I went back home, only just realizing how much time has passed. Man, time runs when you're having fun, doesn't it? I began preparing for my first mining trip. I know it's early, but I need yours anyways. As I made myself a shield, boots, and a bucket, I dug out the rest of the underground room, before hitting the sack yet again. Day 7, I finally began my mining trip. Even though strip mining is very boring, it was the safest way, since this is hardcore Minecraft. As I dig deeper, I discovered a massive cave system. So grabbing my crafting table and furnace, and then using my water bucket, I travelled unseen it, being incredibly larger than I thought. After grabbing a few bits of iron and finding out zombies and skeletons, I simply waited for the iron to be smelted whilst keeping an eye out for any more mobs. But during it, I decided to mine a few gold ores before scouting out the area and placing down some torches, in order to decrease the mob spawning. Once all the iron was smelted, I made myself a full set of iron armor in order to decrease my chance of dying in the cave. After fighting off a handful of zombies, I stumbled upon some redstone, iron, gold, and— oh my god! Diamonds, yes! But unfortunately it's not enough, as I'm looking for 5, just enough to make a pickaxe and a sword. Unfortunately, after exploring the low levels of the cave, I managed to find 2 more diamonds, making it more than enough. Got to where I came from and made my way back home. I made myself a diamond sword and pickaxe, and a blast furnace in order to make smelt ores a lot more faster. Once it was all smelted, I made myself a clock and a compass, whilst making myself a master of time and direction before in the sack once again. The next day I began to expand my house. Firstly I got plenty of wood logs before adding them frames to room extension. Once I finished, I used the remaining logs for wooden planks and filled in the walls, and then made window holes? Is that how you describe them? I don't know. Anyways, I decided to extend the house, with 3 rooms, 2 on the sides and 1 behind it. So first I began to demolish the walls before building the frame and the walls for that 3rd room. On day 12 I began to build the roof, the hardest part of the house. I decided to use a combination of slabs, planks and stairs to make it a lot of detail. So first I made it into a roof frame. Is that even a phrase? But thanks to a thunderstorm I had to hit a sack. I spent the next 6 days building an entire roof, and added some slabs and stairs for the finishing touches. In the end, it didn't look the way I wanted it to, but hey-oh. Then on day 21 I began to work on the interior. I began with the upstairs bedroom, and then dug out the grass floor, and replaced them with the oak and birch pattern. On the next day I got supplies to build a storage in the kitchen. For the storage is what you can guess, as I made myself a log chest. It took me a while to get all the wood, but you know. And then the smokers and blast furnaces for the kitchen, so that way you have a lot easier to smelt ores more than once. On the next day I put some finishing touches on the bedroom, before sorting out my items in the chest so that I can easily use them when I need to. After that I slowly took a break before I went to eat my lunch. Unfortunately, I got sidetracked for about 4 Minecraft days. So in the middle of day 28, I went to the village for the first time and stole their carrots, seeds, and potatoes from my own farm, which I began to work on after I made myself an infinite water source. After soiling the area that I made for the garden, I first planted some seeds before planting the carrots and potatoes. Afterwards, I got some wood to make some fences for my garden. After placing the fence around the garden, I crushed some bone meal in order to plant more carrots. The next day, I went to the village to borrow their hay bales while exploring both of them. Whilst I was exploring them, I harvested their carrots and other plants, as well as seeing how many villagers were in the villages. And luckily, there was more than enough for my great plans. You'll see what I mean later on. The next day, I cut down some trees to make some fences. After that, I began to work on the pens for cows, pigs, chickens, and sheep. After I finished it up on the next day, I first put some cows into it before breeding them. Unlocked an achievement, the carrots and the bees. Then on day 35, I lured some pigs and bred them with the carrots I got from the village. Then as night falls, I lured at least one chicken. Then on the next day, I lured another. After I got the chickens, I began to find some sheep for the last pen, but not before breeding the pigs and cows. After walking for a few minutes, I found some sheep, but not before getting jump scared by an enderman. After some minor trouble, I managed to lure the sheep into the pen as it began to rain. Afterwards, I harvested the potatoes, carrots, and wheat and replanted them. The next day, I bred the animals once again as I needed huge amounts of food in order to survive the rest of 100 days. After that, I waited until the next day because I was bored. But the next day, I began to build a pathway from my house to the villages. It took me a while since I had to cut down a lot of trees in order to get the wood. With the wood I got, I continued building the rest of the bridge all the way to the hills, where I built a pathway. But it took me a while, so the next day I harvested the crops once again and bred the animals once again, before slaughtering them as I had run out of food. Anyways, I continued on building the bridge. But whilst I was building, I noticed I made quite a forest on the other side of my house. It took me a while to finish up the bridge to the midpoint, but once I did, I terraformed the area a little bit, because I decided to build a fountain for decoration and a landmark. But on day 46, I searched up on YouTube looking on how to build a fountain that is easy to build and can be used as a landmark. And after a while, I watched a pretty informative video on YouTube that ended up like this. Link in description. Anyways, once I put the finishing touches on the fountain, I then began to build the bridge to the village on the hills. It took me at least 5 days as I started on day 51, but on day 57 I decided to see if there were any enchantments I could trade with the villagers. Unfortunately, there was only one lectern, so it was just one librarian. I got so many times after placing and breaking the lecterns so many times, I finally got one of the enchantments I needed. Even though it was a high price I needed in order to defeat the Ender Dragon, which I'll do in the next 100 days video. Not this one. If you guys want to see that, then please like and subscribe on this video. It really helps me out. Anyways, after I got the trade, I went back to the bridge to finish it up, but not before borrowing their library books. Anyways, after finally finishing the bridge, I went back home to get some wood and 4 pieces of flint, because I recently found out that the best of trades of getting emeralds is for a fletching villager. You'll see what I mean. After making myself 4 lecterns, I returned to the village on the next day and began to turn villagers into librarians. It took me a while since the enchantments I needed was fortune free, melon, gluten free, and fire spec 2. Once I finally got the enchantments I needed, a few extensions will be level 1. Anyways, once that was finally done, after it took about 3 days straight, which was really annoying, I headed back home. But for some reason, I decided to increase the distance, and would you know it, there was more snowy mountains nearby, past the forest, but not as massive as the one right next to the house. Anyways, back at the house, I made myself a bow since I'm going to go for another mining trip. So the next day, I headed back to the village because I believed I saw something at the bottom of the hill. So I began to look for it. However, I nearly had a heart attack as I almost fell down a small ravine near the village. I have got to be more careful. Anyways, after carefully going down the hill, my suspicions were confirmed when I saw a massive cavern. I cannot believe my luck is there a literal mine shaft in it. I know, right? Anyways, but I know I wasn't strong enough to venture into it. So instead I avoided it and explored the caverns, while being cautious about it. First I mined some coal, then mined some iron that was close to it, and after battling some skeletons and used my brand new bow to kill a creeper, I used my water bucket to venture deeper down into caves. Fortunately, there was plenty of gold, lapis, and redstone ores. Things that I wasn't even looking for, but took it anyways. Even though I got plenty of ores, I still haven't got enough iron, so I went down even further. But I did have some complications with a skeleton. I found some more iron, and wouldn't you believe it? Diamonds! And after mining a few more pieces of iron, I found even more diamonds hidden behind the iron. But I didn't mine them. Oh, no. I needed to be smart about this. So I went back up to the surface and got some more sugar canes as I realized I hadn't even made a sugar farm. Man, sometimes I can be a complete idiot. But anyways, once I got back home, I immediately began smelting the iron and the gold into ingots. I got 6 pieces of iron. I crafted myself 2 iron axes and cut down most of the trees in the forest, whilst replanted them. Then on day 64, I used the smelted iron ingots to make myself an anvil and making myself a lot of sticks from the wood I got from the forest. I went to the village on the next day and made some villagers the fletchers. Is that what they're called? I don't know. Anyways, I traded all my 6 for the emeralds, and in the end, I got at least about 32 emeralds, which is more than enough to buy 4 Fortune 1 books. So making myself 4 books, I traded all in and immediately went back home. I combined them all together into Fortune 3. I went back to the caverns. But unfortunately, I paused recordings as I had something to do, so I apologize about that. Anyways, the whole reason why I'm here is to get more diamonds. The ones that I mined with the Fortune 3 pickaxe were sadly not enough to make full set. I only just need 4 more in order to make the boots, and it'll be fully completed. So that's why I'm back in the cave under my house. Unfortunately, I didn't find what I looked for, just only find the usual stuff. You know, gold, redstone, iron. So going back up to the surface, I decided to go back to the caverns underneath the village, as there was still plenty of exploring to do. But before I did, I trained some of my sticks with the villagers to get a few more emeralds for training in the future. Anyways, on the next day I began to explore the caverns once again whilst being cautious about it, especially when I battled a lot of mobs. It turns out this cavern is bigger than I thought it would be, as nearby there was a ravine leading even deeper down. However, I didn't go down just yet. As I mined yours, there were littered around the cavern, and I couldn't believe my luck when I found an emerald ore. I nearly died to a creeper, but I was able to outmaneuver them and slay them with ease. Anyways, I went back to the surface to craft myself a brand new shield, as the one I currently have is almost destroyed, so it'd be smart to have a new one ready. Heading back to the cavern, I used my water bucket to descend down the ravine with maximum caution. And after mining a few more pieces of iron, I descended down even further and found a cave underneath one of the tunnels. So using my water bucket, I dropped down to it and literally found an ore mine. Is that even a phrase? I don't know. Anyways, as I found out a handful of iron and gold ores, I finally found some more diamonds. Even though it was one, I managed to get 3. And after mining a few more pieces of iron and a raw iron block, which I didn't even know existed, and after getting chased by a baby zombie, I really hate those things, I found another diamond ore. But I concealed myself in order to be safe and check the area around so I wouldn't get killed. After getting the diamond ore, I went back up the waterfall and eventually made my way back to the surface again. I went back to the house, making myself full diamond boots, fast completing the full diamond set. But I wasn't going to use it. Not yet, at least. Until I get all the enchantments that I require for the armor, that's when I'll use it. The enchantments I require is what you can guess. Protection, fire protection, blast protection, projectile protection, mending, aqua infinity, feather falling, and frostwalker. All to the max. I know it's extensive, but it's hardcore. You need to be prepared. But I'm gonna do my preparations to battle the Ender Dragon in the next one of today's video. Anyways, for the rest of the day I stored all my valuables, including the iron and gold. Once it was all smelted, I took a break, as I've been on Minecraft for quite a while now. Anyways, day 72 I began to make my sugarcane farm. I first terraformed the area, then dug out where the sandbox would go, before getting them placing them into this farm afterwards. It took me until day 72 to finish it up, while the sugarcanes were growing. I cut down some trees for sticks until I've accidentally destroyed a beehive, so I bolted off into the house in panic, and then crafted some sticks. Then on the next day I cut down the trees on the growing forest on the other side of my house, and also crafted them into sticks before heading to the village and training with emeralds. In total, I managed to get 20 emeralds and stayed the night in the village before continuing to chopping down and train sticks. It's a very efficient way to get emeralds now, realizing it. Proving when I got about a stack of 15 emeralds. So, yeah. Now I have enough to get one of the enchantment books for my sword. I went back home and planted the saplings I got back from the village. Day 77, I looked over the sugarcane farm, not fully grown, but we're getting there. Next, I harvested the crops I got and replanted them before breeding all the animals. The next day, I harvested the sugarcanes and then used some of it to fill the remaining rows. After that, I made 2 books, both for mending, since I definitely need my sword and pickaxe repaired. Unfortunately, as I was walking back to the village, I got hit by all gamers' worst enemy, lag. I hate lag. So the next day I fixed it and traded in my emeralds and books for 2 mending books and forged them onto my sword and pickaxe. Now all that's left is sharpness, looting, and fire aspect. I make a sweeping edge and knock back on my sword later on, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Anyways, next I breeded on my pigs before harvesting a tender body part, while also harvesting the XP to repair my sword. I then breeded cows, and on the next day I made 2 fletching tables to get more fletching villagers, as their trades for emeralds are locked. So before I went to the village, I chopped out plenty of trees and repotted them later on, before heading to the village on day 81 to trade all my sticks. Again, at the end of it, I got about 35 emeralds from the trades. Going back on day 83, since I took a break, I got the emeralds there, and in total was 63. Again, more sticks are trending in for more emeralds, and finally got enough to purchase my sharpness 5. Once I charged on my sword and pushed down the zombies and lions skelter before getting chased back by a baby zombie. I continued chopping down trees and making plenty of sticks. I once again traded in and ended up with 18 emeralds in total. So the next day, I continued trading until I got at least 26 emeralds, just enough to get 2 firesmith boots. Then some more leather, I then hid in a sack because I noticed that was almost night. However, on day 86, I noticed there was trespassers on my property. I took care of them, but didn't care if there was no ordinary trespassers. After slaying them, I harvested the sugarcane to apply to someone on the last layer. After that, I went back to the village yet again. I might have just beaten the record for doing all this. At the end of the 2 fire aspect books, I stayed at night at the village, and went back home the next day and combined them before adding it to my sword. And now my sword is just missing 1 more enchantment. So I began to work on it the next day. Armed with plenty of sticks in my inventory, I traded it with the villagers, getting myself about 16. Not enough, but we're getting there. Eventually, after a few more cut down trees, I managed to get enough emeralds, but unfortunately I didn't bring the book, so I went back to the village on day 81, and finally got the looting enchantments. I don't have enough levels to apply to my sword, making me realise that I left pork chops in the smoker. What was that? I cannot remember. After getting XP levels from that, I put the potatoes into the smoker, and then got the levels from that. I finally added loot into my sword and making more powerful than ever before. Now after that, I can finally focus on something else. I plan to make a tower on my house. I originally planned it to be separate, but decided to go with on the top of the house. It took me about 4 days to get to a certain point I'm happy with. Anyways, I took a small break when I chose to send it to a 180 leg when I'm building the tower. I do not want to fall to my death, especially not when I'm this close. Speaking of, after I reached high enough, I built a platform. It took me a while, and I build a platform big enough to my liking. Now the reasons why I wanted to build this to fit is 2 things. 1, Phantom Hunter to prepare my battle for the End Dragon. 2, Map Room. While I was running this script, I realised I could have just done at the bottom instead of the top, but oh well. After building the wall for the map and slaying a few cows for their leather, I made plenty of item frames and then began to map up the area around the house. And to the village, thankfully I managed to make all the maps line up to the present, to one big picture. But it took me a while, it took me until day 99 itself. So for the rest of the day and night, I deserve to watch the sun rise on day 100.